Hey, Gens fans, and welcome to this Gens Weekly Recap. I'm your host and the voice of the Gens, Matt Sossler. We had a lot of hockey to look at this week. Let's take a look at what went down. Last Wednesday, after nearly a 3-week layoff, the Generals gave up a goal to Isaiah Fox at the 8:49 mark. However, around 2 minutes later, the Generals got one of their own off of a phenomenal hustle play from Jonathan Young to draw the score even heading into the first intermission. In the second stanza, the Generals took the lead off of a Ricky Boyson snipe from the top of the circle 4-on-4. However, like the Generals did in the first frame, the Nordiques responded 8 minutes later when James Philpott found Twine on the power play to even the score, headed into the dressing room. In the third period, after a lot of back and forth action, Maine took the lead with around 6 minutes remaining, yet keeping with the theme of the night, Liam McCanny knocking on the doorstep finds the back of the net with 51 seconds left, and in the bonus period, Maine's Tyler Gollin netted the game winner just 2 minutes in to give the Nordiques the third point. A look at some numbers: Jonathan Young, a goal and an assist; Liam McCanny, Ricky Boyson, 1 goal each; Isaac Novak, Matthew Sutter, Dylan Schuett, Aiden Curran, Alexander Tretischny, each with an assist; Hugo Haas with 37 saves; Liam McCanny tied Brady Gaudet for 5th all-time in points in Generals history; Tyler Cooper played his first game since the start of the year; and Matthew Sutter picked up his first point on the season. In Game 2 last Friday, the Generals came out to a quick start when Aiden Flynn found the back of the net at the 6:31 mark on the 2-on-1 to give the Generals the early lead. Kyle Schroeder would add an insurance goal just 4 minutes later to give them the 2-0 lead at the end of the frame. In the second period, Dylan Schuett and in his second game back from injury, Tyler Cooper would add on for the Generals to give them a commanding 4-0 lead. Maine would then respond to give the Generals a 4-1 lead headed into the final frame. In the final frame, Aiden Curran had the lone lamplighter to give the Generals the victory. And right here, check this out. Anton Castro with Maine on the break. You see they're going to enter the zone. Do a very good job of doing that. A 2-on-1. And Anton Castro, a nasty glove save to rob Maine of a goal there. Right there, it would have been key, as the game would have been 2-1 if that puck would have found the back. And then you see Castro going all the way up with his glove. You're about to get a much better angle from this as it gets slower and slower. You see how he has to sprawl out, reach up high with that glove. An amazing save from the Generals netminder. And one more thing about Castro. Here's what head coach Brian Erickson had to say about not only Castro, but his strong goaltending tandem.
Well, I mean, obviously it's huge, and Anton was great in net, and he's a great kid. It's nice to have Hugo go play really well on Wednesday. Have Castro go tonight, play really well. Get his first win, get it out of the way, right? The longer it takes to get your first win, sometimes the harder it is you bear down, and that's never good. So to get it out of the way in the first start was huge. I mean, he's a high-end goalie that played a high-end game. Made a glove save there in the second period that was just disgusting. And, boys like him. He was buying in. And, Hugo, I got to give Hugo credit. I mean, being on that bench, I don't know if there's anybody happier for Anton in the whole building than Hugo was. And, Hugo likes that he's got, competition. And, Hugo's looking forward to getting back in that net tomorrow, which he'll be in there for the 1 o'clock game. But Anton was just a beast tonight, and we're looking for more of that going down in the future. The next day, the Generals and Nordiques would go at it again. Cooper Swift opened the scoring for Maine midway through the first frame to give them a 1-0 lead. And then Tyler Varin would respond 6 minutes later to tie the game. However, Maine would get another 2 minutes later to take a 2-1 lead into the locker room. In the second stanza, James Philpott netted the lone goal on a power play to give Maine a 3-1 lead heading into the final frame. In the final frame, Liam McCanny continued a strong season, finding Twine less than a minute in to cut the deficit to 1. Yet Maine would respond at the 14:18 mark on the power play to enhance their lead to 4-2. McCanny would get his second goal in the last minute. However, that wasn't enough as Maine walked away with the victory. A look at some stats: Liam McCanny with 2 goals, Ricky Boyson with 2 assists, Tyler Varn 1 goal, Matthew Yeager, Andy Stoneman, Alexander Tretischny, Tyler Cooper each with an assist. Hugo Haas made 37 saves.
Cooper got a point in his second straight game, and McCanny is tied for fourth all-time in goals in Generals history with Alex Cohen. Hugo Haas has made 30 or more saves in all of his starts on the season. In Game 4 yesterday, Maine struck with less than a minute to go in the opening frame after 19 minutes of back-and-forth action. In the second stanza, both goalies would stand tall until Jonathan Young found the back of the net for the Generals with less than a minute to go in the frame. And in the final frame, the Generals struck first when Dylan Schuett found Twine just over a minute in. However, Maine would respond 7 minutes later to even the score. That game remained tied until Maine's Tyler Gallen scored with 8 seconds left to put Maine on top for good. A look at some stats: Dylan Schuett, Jonathan Young, each with a goal. Alexander Tatishny, Aiden Curry, and Liam McCanny, each with an assist. And Anton Castro coming up strong again with 44 saves. McCanny has obtained a point in every game so far in that series. McCanny also 5 points away from tying Justin Jalen for fourth all-time in points in Generals history. He's also tied for fourth all-time in goals in Generals history with Alex Cohen at 29, and 3 out of the 5 goals in that game were scored in the last minute of the given period. And then the very next day, this game just going final a few hours ago. The Generals looking to get a key win prior to their mini break coming up over the holidays. It started out when Kyle Schroeder found the back of the net from Tyler Cooper and John Musella at the 16:08 mark. Ricky Boyson would then follow 30 seconds later from Jonathan Young and Isaac Novak. Maine would respond in the second period, but then in the third period, J.R. Perdian would get it from Aiden Flynn and put the dagger on the Nordiques, and the Generals would walk away in the finale, winning this one 3-1. Hugo Haas absolutely having a stellar game. He made a 6 save with the pad. On the screen is what he had to say. The NA3HL Generals were also in action this past week. They took on Bay State in games 3, 4, and 5 in the battle for Massachusetts. In game 3, Bay State struck first. However, Northeast responded with goals from Nick Racker, Drew Schemmel, and Ben Pizzameni to take a 3-1 lead into the locker room. In the second period, Jacob Kaminsky provided an insurance goal. Bay State would get one more to cut the deficit to 2 before Peyton Felix responded to enhance the lead to 3. In the final frame, both goalies stood tall, and the Generals took a 2-1 lead in the battle for Massachusetts. A look at some arithmetic: Nick Racker, Ben Pizzameni, Peyton Felix, a goal and an assist each. Kyle McGuire made 30 saves. The Generals outshot Bay State 56-32, and 10 Generals obtained at least 1 point. In game 4, Braden Kennedy scored 2.5 minutes in to give the Generals the early lead. Nick Ram would add on 15 minutes later to give the Generals a 2-0 advantage at the break. In the second period, Deacon Moore found the back of the net twice to enhance the lead to 4-0. In the final frame, Tyler Kaminsky and Nick Racker would add on, and Espen Rieger would stop 33 of 33 as the Generals took a 3-1 lead in the battle for Massachusetts. A look at some numbers: Espen Rieger, 33 saves, Deacon Moore with 2 goals, Tyler Kaminsky, a goal and an assist, Peyton Felix with 2 assists. The Generals outshot Bay State 47-33.